So Peter McCullough and I are having this chat with Matthias and on a podcast, and I asked Matthias, okay, doctor, what's the prescription? What's the therapy here? He said that he and his colleagues have been talking about this a lot because now he's out and this inference, this hypothesis is widely circulating in his academic domain, and they're all debating it. He said that the emerging consensus is that we're already so deep in it, it's here. It's not the wolf is at the door, the wolf is in the house. We are suffering from mass formation on a global scale, reinforced by global media. That's what all this coordinated propaganda, censorship, and everything has done. We're there. And he said the only thing yet to be determined is how deep the mass formation goes, how intimately people get wrapped up around this logic. It's a stretch to call it logic. It is completely resistant to facts. Facts are irrelevant. If facts are inconsistent with the storyline that the mass has formed around, those facts will be rejected. This is another fundamental thing about human psychology, is it can be clearly demonstrated that there are data which come in through your senses. And what happens is your brain processes those data and compares them. This is, fundamental signals coming through your eyes or your ears or touch. Those data aren't directly perceived. They are compared against a model cognitively in humans. And those data which are inconsistent with that model will be rejected. We are only able to perceive that which is consistent with our own intellectual model of reality. It can be demonstrated again and again. This is a core part of hypnosis. So these people that are caught up in the mass formation, it doesn't matter how much data you throw at them. They will reject it. And we see this in real time. This is what deplatforming is all about. The logic of mass formation is intrinsically integrated into the Trusted News Initiative. The Trusted News Initiative defines any interpretation of current events, risk profiles, adverse events of vaccines, etc., which is inconsistent with the party line being put out by the World Health Organization or national health authorities, is not allowed to be discussed. The only permitted discussion has to be consistent with the storyline being put out by these global bureaucratic public health leaders. Nothing else is permitted. This is intrinsically anti-science. It doesn't matter, because those people are the identified leaders of the mass that have formed. Any other information will be rejected, and if you spread any other information, it is determined that that will lead to vaccine hesitancy, and anything, whether it's true or not, anything which leads to vaccine hesitancy because the mass is formed around the idea that the vaccines are magically going to be able to relieve them of this problem, which is infection by SARS-CoV-2 and the threat that it represents. And so anything that is perceived as leading to individuals making a reasoned choice that they do not want to accept this vaccine personally is deemed to be mis- or disinformation by its very nature, because it would alter their behavior and they wouldn't take vaccine. If you think this through, what that means is that the information that a given individual, you, your audience members, that they would require in order to have informed consent, true informed consent, it is not allowed. They cannot have access to that information that might lead them to make any decision other than the decision that the mass wishes them to make. Because the mass has formed around the concept in this situation that the vaccines are a perfect solution to their problem, their cognitive angst, which is the existential threat of death from this virus. That's why they're so resistant to the data demonstrating that that is truly merely, that is an incorrect existential threat. The true threat, that's why it's profound that the government is not allowing the true data on risk to be distributed. The government, and it's reinforced by Pfizer. Scott Gottlieb there's a great clip of Scott Gottlieb, former FDA director, right? Now a member of the Pfizer board of directors, speaking to the press on video, stating that there's been over 600 deaths in the pediatric cohort in the United States since the beginning of the outbreak from COVID, and therefore there's a major threat to children associated with COVID. He never mentions the fact that there was a deep academic study that documented that virtually every one of those deaths was in a child which had major pre-existing comorbidities. They didn't die of COVID, they died with COVID. But Pfizer, with its representative board member, former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb, neglects to mention any of that. Only the scare. Your child is at risk for dying from this. 600 other children in the United States over the last 2 years have so died. Therefore, your child must be jabbed. So we have, the mass has formed around this idea that the vaccines are a perfect solution, reinforced by government officials, we all know who, reinforced by this surrogate marketing, which, by the way, is illegal. I mean, I've been trained in medical affairs. You are not allowed to market a product that is not yet licensed. There is no licensed vaccine available in the United States. It's all emergency use authorization. It doesn't matter. Okay? So getting back to mass formation, what will happen is that anybody who speaks anything, and by the way, they've defined, if you are against mandates, you are an anti-vaxxer. That's now in Webster's. The definition of the term anti-vaxxer includes anybody who is opposed to mandated administration of an experimental medical product, which is exactly contrary to the Nuremberg trial outcomes and the Helsinki Accord, which say that you absolutely can't do that. You cannot mandate that somebody accept an experimental medical product without full informed consent and willing acceptance of the risk. Those criteria are abundantly not being met. We have governments asserting that it's okay to go in and vaccinate children without their parents' consent. We have policy positions that if your child goes to school, you are by definition consenting that your child will be vaccinated at that school. The whole thing for me, and people ask, why are you speaking out, Robert? It is profoundly shocking, antithetical to everything I've ever been taught in terms of bioethics. And one of the things as a clinical researcher is that you're subjected to bioethics training rigorously, repeatedly. It is one of the criteria. If you want to be a principal investigator at a clinical research trial, it was a core part of the Harvard program that I went to. Bioethics training. Bioethics, I've had it again and again and again, and we have completely disregarded it.